Hello, I'm Dr. Maury Markman from City of Hope, and I want to conclude this brief discussion highlighting relevant, even if somewhat uncomfortable, issues associated with the rapid expansion of precision medicine and management. Here I emphasize the second issue I wanted to discuss, which is almost certainly, it's hard to quantify, but I'm going to give some data, limited though it may be. It's hard to quantify, but there is clearly a widening gap. And the concern is that gap is only going to widen further between what is possible today will be possible in the future in terms of identifying clinically relevant molecular targets for therapy or cancer prevention, and the standard of care availability of testing and subsequent use of the results in disease management. The science is extraordinary, the trials are remarkable, but what about the actual use in clinical practice? To highlight what I would label as the possible, I note a recent publication which discussed a specific health organization's, large national organization, research protocol that looked at pathologist-directed system-wide molecular diagnostic testing using their platform, which led to somatic testing being performed immediately at the time of diagnosis for all patients, I repeat, all patients with advanced solid tumors. You emphasize again, pathologist, diagnosis was made, the testing was performed, and the patients were then followed with this information available at the time of diagnosis to the oncology team. What these researchers found was approximately 50%, one half of all the patients in this large analysis, again, system-wide, standard of care, management, although they were on research protocol again, they found that 50 had at least one actionable biomarker-driven, FDA-approved or national guideline recommended target agent or immunotherapy or a possible clinical trial that was available to these patients. 1 out of 2 patients had something that information available through the testing informed possible management. Further, approximately 1/2 of the individuals with at least 6 months follow-up had received immunotherapy or a targeted agent. So not only did the things demonstrate 1 out of 2, there was something there, approximately half of the whole population that we're talking about with something seen had actually received such a therapy based upon that abnormality. Not necessarily because of it, but it was there, and that's what the doctors ended up doing. Importantly, and I want to state right here, this is obviously a heterogeneous population. This was not a randomized trials. The investigators noted that patients who received targeted or immunotherapy experienced superior survival outcomes compared to those patients managed with chemotherapy alone. Again, make it very clear, it's not a randomized trial, a heterogeneous population, standard of care for these patients, totally independent of the use of a diagnostic platform may have been to look at a targeted therapeutic. That would have been, a single gene abnormality, might have just been an IHC test. So again, one can't say these patients did better specifically because of the testing, but nevertheless, this was population-based, a large population. These are the results. But the most important point to make as regards this commentary was that what I'm describing was a research study, and there were no costs to the patients for this testing. Doctors didn't have to call insurance companies and spend half hour, an hour saying, I need this to be done. It was done at the cost of the organization for the benefit of the patients. So, what happens when the trial is over and the doctors in this organization or any organization have to figure out how to get insurance coverage with the multiple insurance companies that they have to deal with, the multiple questions that are asked, the multiple platforms that are available, the multiple forms that need to be filled out, and coverage may be denied. And that's not the worst of it, because we will obviously be seeing over the coming years multiple new molecular diagnostic platforms, which one can only envision what they may be, where the likely response from a third-party payer for a prolonged period of time may be no. So, how many patients will be denied the opportunity to experience the benefits of receiving a therapeutic agent based on a molecular finding in only 1 to 2% of individuals with their organ-based tumor type? An agent that might reasonably be stated to have a high probability of resulting in meaningful extension of their lives. But this would not have occurred in the absence of such therapy. How many patients will be denied that opportunity moving forward? This is a huge question. We as a society need to figure out how to deal with this, how to pay for it, how to evaluate it, because the disparity between those who will have access and those who will not will only widen, in my opinion, if we don't figure out how to deal with this. Much more needs to be said about this question and topic, but that must wait for another day. And I thank you for your attention.